The scent of roasted garlic and expensive vanilla perfume hung heavily in the air of the grand ballroom, but to me, it smelled like impending demolition. The charity gala was in full swing, a sea of tailored suits and silk dresses moving rhythmically to a soft jazz quartet. I stood near the back, nursing a glass of sparkling water, my pulse operating at a terrifyingly calm resting rate. I was about to incinerate my entire life, and I hadn't even raised my voice. I am a reliability engineer at a massive industrial cold storage facility. My entire professional existence is dedicated to identifying systemic weaknesses, measuring thermal loads, and ensuring that complex, high-pressure systems do not experience catastrophic failure. I deal in absolute facts, stress tolerances, and predictable outcomes. For 6 years, I applied that exact same logic to my marriage with Maya. She was the vibrant, socially ambitious manager of an upscale boutique salon downtown. She lived in a world of curated aesthetics, high-end clientele, and constant networking. I was perfectly content to be the quiet gravity that kept her anchored, the steady provider who ensured the mortgage on our custom-built suburban home was paid on time. But over the last 6 months, the atmospheric pressure in our home had begun to shift. Maya's phone, once casually tossed onto the kitchen island, became permanently fused to her hand, always placed face down. She started wearing new, heavy, floral perfumes that I had never purchased for her, and she bought expensive lace lingerie that she only ever wore to late-night inventory audits. Her tone toward me became clipped and dismissive. She began talking incessantly about a man named Trent, a flashy, wellness and fitness mentor, who was supposedly partnering with her salon for a new promotional campaign. Trent was everything I was not: loud, arrogant, heavily leased, and utterly obsessed with projecting an image of extreme wealth. When I asked basic questions about her day, she would roll her eyes and mutter that I was just a boring brother type who couldn't possibly understand the hustle of modern entrepreneurship. The structural collapse of my reality officially commenced on a Tuesday night. I was working a mandatory graveyard shift at the cold storage plant, surrounded by the deafening hum of industrial compressors. Maya had told me she was spending the night at a secluded wellness spa 2 hours north with her mother to decompress from the stress of the salon. At exactly 2:15 a.m., my phone vibrated against the metal of my workstation. It was a high-pitched notification from Barnaby, the high-end robot vacuum I had insisted on buying for our house. The alert read, "Obstacle detected. Manual clearance required." I wiped a smear of machine grease from my thumb and tapped the live feed. The app displayed the digital map of our primary bedroom. The vacuum's built-in AI camera, hovering just inches above the hardwood, was pointed directly at the gap between the bed skirt and the floor. The image buffered, pixel by agonizing pixel, until the obstacle came into high-definition focus. Tucked neatly beneath the bed were 2 items that absolutely did not belong to me: a discarded leather jacket and a pair of flashy, neon-laced running shoes. I didn't own neon running shoes. I knew exactly who did. Trent had worn those exact shoes in a half-dozen promotional videos Maya had posted on the salon's social media page. The temperature in the control room was 30 degrees, but the cold sweat that broke out across my neck had nothing to do with the refrigeration units. A crushing, suffocating wave of pure depression slammed into my chest, heavy enough to make my knees temporarily buckle. My wife wasn't at a spa. She had waited for me to leave for a grueling night shift, and then she had brought another man into the very sanctuary I had worked 60-hour weeks to provide. For 10 agonizing minutes, I sat on a metal crate, the noise of the compressors roaring around me, feeling utterly humiliated and profoundly small. I wanted to call her, to scream into the receiver until my vocal cords bled, to demand an explanation for the wreckage. But I am a reliability engineer. When a system fails, you do not punch the machinery. You isolate the fault, gather the telemetry, and initiate a controlled shutdown. The sorrow rapidly curdled into a sub-zero, titanium resolve. I wasn't going to tip my hand. I needed the complete dataset. When my shift ended, I drove home and parked 2 blocks away. I crept into my own house like a burglar. The bed was empty, the shoes were gone, and the house smelled faintly of a musky, unfamiliar cologne. I immediately went to my home office and booted up my desktop. I logged into the administrator panel of our home Wi-Fi router and navigated straight to the DHCP client list. My network was encrypted with a complex 16-character alphanumeric password that only Maya and I knew. I filtered the connection history for the last 90 days. There it was, a device registered as *Trentai phone *. The The logs showed a flawless, unbroken pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, right in the middle of the afternoon when I was at the plant, his phone connected to my private network for exactly 2 hours. The betrayal wasn't a singular mistake. It was an established, arrogant routine. I dug deeper, opening the portal for my emergency corporate American Express card, an account tied to a side LLC I used for freelance consulting. Maya had access to it strictly for household emergencies. The ledger loaded, and the sheer audacity of her theft hit me like a physical blow. Over the last 3 months, she had funneled nearly $14,000 into consulting retainers, paid directly to Trent's failing supplement business, alongside charges for high-end boutique hotels and $850 dinners at steakhouses. She wasn't just sleeping with him, she was actively embezzling my hard-earned capital to finance his fraudulent lifestyle. I called Arthur, a seasoned divorce attorney known for his absolute, clinical ruthlessness. Sitting in his mahogany-paneled office the next morning, I laid out the router logs, the vacuum photo, and the Amex statements. "This is a masterpiece of asset dissipation," Arthur noted, adjusting his glasses. "In this state, using marital or corporate funds to facilitate an affair is a severe breach of fiduciary duty. But if you want to walk away with your home and your retirement fully intact, we need her to willingly surrender her leverage before we drop the hammer." We engineered a trap designed specifically for her fatal flaw, her insatiable greed. Using my background in technical drafting, I fabricated a flawless, highly official-looking letter from a national consumer sweepstakes she had entered at a luxury expo a year prior. The documents indicated she had won a grand prize payout of $1.5 million. I even coded a dummy winner's portal hosted on a private local server. I planted the letter in the mail pile on a Thursday. I sat at the kitchen island, sipping black coffee, and watched her tear open the envelope. The transformation was instantaneous and terrifying. The color rushed to her face, her eyes widened with a frantic, euphoric panic, and she immediately began to distance herself from me. "This changes everything," she whispered, looking right through me. Over the next 4 days, she became a monster of arrogance. She treated me with outright contempt, believing she was suddenly a self-made millionaire who no longer needed her boring husband's paycheck. When Arthur, acting as my attorney, conveniently presented her with a mutual waiver of assets, a legal separation agreement stating she would surrender all claims to my house, my 401k, and my savings, provided I surrendered all claims to her external windfalls, she signed it so fast the pen nearly tore the paper. She was so desperate to protect her fake millions that she eagerly signed away her entire legal safety net. The climax arrived on the night of the salon's annual charity gala. Maya had spared no expense, using the event to showcase her newly perceived elite status. The ballroom was draped in white silk, the champagne flowed, and Trent was holding court near the ice sculpture, wearing a leased velvet tuxedo and a smug grin. I arrived wearing a sharply tailored charcoal suit, my posture entirely relaxed, looking like the oblivious, supportive prop she assumed I was. At 9:00 p.m., the salon owner took the stage, tapping the microphone. "We have a special visual presentation tonight to celebrate Maya's incredible contributions to our brand," she announced, gesturing to the massive projector screen descending from the vaulted ceiling. I had slipped the AV technician a crisp $100 bill and a customized thumb drive an hour prior. The lights dimmed. The upbeat promotional music suddenly cut to dead silence. The screen did not show salon highlights. It flashed to a stark, high-definition image, the low-angle photograph taken by Barnaby the vacuum, clearly displaying Trent's neon shoes and leather jacket tucked under my bed. A collective, confused murmur rippled through the 200 guests. Maya stiffened, the champagne flute trembling in her hand. The next slide clicked over. It was a blown-up, black-and-white spreadsheet of the router logs. Trent's MAC address was highlighted in neon yellow, alongside the hundreds of timestamps showing his exact arrival and departure times at my house. "What is this?" Trent stammered, his arrogant swagger evaporating as the wealthy patrons began to point and whisper. The final slide faded in. It was an audio waveform, accompanied by the crystal-clear recording I had pulled from our smart home hub. Maya's voice echoed through the cavernous ballroom. "I know he's so oblivious. He thinks I'm just stressed with work. He's predictable, Trent. That's why I married him. He's safe." The silence that sucked the oxygen out of the room was absolute. Maya's face drained to a ghostly, translucent white. The glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the marble floor with a sharp, violent crack. She turned to me, her eyes wide with a mixture of sheer terror and complete humiliation. I didn't yell. I didn't scowl. I casually pulled the signed mutual waiver of assets from my inner jacket pocket and handed it to her. There is no lottery, Maya, I said, my voice carrying effortlessly through the quiet crowd. But there is a divorce. And thanks to your unparalleled greed, I'm keeping the house, the retirement, and the savings. The cost of your loyalty was exactly zero. Trent, realizing that his millionaire meal ticket was an absolute illusion and that he was now the center of a catastrophic public scandal, didn't even attempt to defend her. He practically sprinted for the exit, abandoning her entirely to save his own pathetic reputation. Elias, please, Maya sobbed, dropping to her knees amid the broken glass, her perfect makeup running in dark, jagged streaks. I was confused. He manipulated me. I have nowhere to go. You should probably call an Uber, I replied, pulling my phone from my pocket and tapping the vehicle management app. Because I just remotely disabled the engine on your corporate-leased SUV, and the tow truck I hired has already hauled it to the impound lot on the north side. I turned my back on the wreckage and walked out the grand double doors into the crisp, cool night air. I had already reset the smart locks on my house and left her designer wardrobe packed neatly in black heavy-duty trash bags on the front porch. As I climbed into my car and started the ignition, the crushing weight I had carried for months fully evaporated, leaving nothing but a clean, mathematically perfect slate. The structural integrity of my life was finally restored. True justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's executed with the silent, sub-zero precision of an engineer who knows exactly where the faults lie. Would you have engineered a fake windfall to secure your assets, or was the public presentation at the gala a step too far?